Hello! Welcome to Information and Communications Technology 9. Our learning competency for this episode is Introduction to Visual Basics Programming Concepts. I am teacher Nico Neil P. Farinas and I will be your subject teacher. Computer programming. It is actually a skill and a process. As a process, it involves the designing and writing of computer programs. As a skill set, it includes different tasks and techniques. This module is meant to provide basic practical skills to help you understand and write computer codes that reflect things you see and use in the real world. As your preparation for the world of Visual Basic Programming, you must have sufficient knowledge of concepts of programming logic formulation. Okay, so are you excited? I hope you are excited. And we have three performance standards. Number one, define program logic formulation. Number two, explain the relevance of program and logic formulation to computer applications. And explain how a system life cycle works. The content standard of this lesson is demonstrate understanding of the basic concepts in program logic formulation. Alright, and now, we shall conduct a pre-assessment. Don't worry kung mababa yung makukuha nyo dito. Okay? So, this will test you on your prior knowledge with regards to our topic. For the directions, you're going to match the descriptions of the stages of a system life cycle. And you're going to choose the letter of the correct answer and you're going to write it on a piece of paper. Okay, you can actually pause this video while you are looking for a paper. Okay, so let's start. The first statement or question is, it ensures that the specifications made are followed and implemented. It replaces the old system with a new system. That's number two. For number three, it finds out the user requirements. Do you know the answer? Number four, it is the program manual. Number five, it converts the design into workable programs. Number six, it examines the program specification to identify the computing tasks. Number seven, it meets the user requirements. Number eight, it involves user training and data conversion. Number nine, it determines if the objectives of the program are met. And last but not the least, number 10, it involves the feasibility of the program. Okay, later on, we're going to check your answers. Alright, so let's talk about program logic formulation basic terms. Program logic formulation refers to the process of creating with the appropriate methodology in developing a specific program logic that will perform a prescribed computing task or solve a problem using the computer. So ito yung process sa paggawa ng mga computer programs para makatulong sa atin sa araw-araw to address the different problems using a computer. Program logic naman involves several processing steps that usually break down into smaller and less complex tasks that will eventually solve the problem. Let's define logic. It refers to the systematic study of reasoning that provides standards by which valid reasoning can be recognized. It explains the reasoning process and provides a means for analyzing the consistency of basic concepts. So that is logic. Let us define mathematical logic. It is usually applied in the field of computer programming. It uses a formal method to achieve precision and objectivity in explaining what is to be logical argument and reasoning. As such, it focuses on the explanation, development, and nature of formal system used in building proof. So that is mathematical logic. How about system? It refers to a collection of related components that serve a common purpose. It goes through a life cycle to serve its purpose and design in performing a particular task. System life cycle. It is the process of replacing the old system with a new system happens in a series of stages. The stages of a system life cycle. The first one is the initial study. So any project or study is conducted for a reason. It usually arises from an identified need by a user. So nakadepende sa ating mga tao kung ano yung magiging problem na a-addressan ngayon ng project or ng study na ikakandak nila. Okay? So a programmer. A programmer is a person who codes or who makes systems or software. So kailangan niyang addressan yung mga requirements ng user na yon. Ang tawag natin doon ay parameters of the program. The system analyst naman is actually our researcher or our designer. He is or she is responsible for studying the background information of the problem if it can be solved. So titignan ngayon ni system analyst kung yung problem ba na present sa atin ng user ay can be resolved or hindi. Okay? Kapag na-identify na ngayon ng system analyst yon, ang gagawin niya, he or she will produce a feasibility report para sa ating mga users' requirements. Siyempre, dapat alam niya din yung software, kung ano yung kayang gawin ng software na i-design ngayon ni programmer. Ano yung tatlong laman ng feasibility study report ni system analyst? Number 1, estimate of the time required to make the system. Okay, so dapat alam ni system analyst natin yung oras ng paggawa ng system na yon. Kasi mind you, ang paggawa ng system ay hindi nagagawa sa isang araw lang. It can take weeks and even months. And sometimes it even years para magawa ang isang system bago gamitin ito ng mga tao. Okay? Number 2, the cost of the system. Magkano yung system na ipapagawa ngayon ng user? Ang system, nagre-range siya ng 10,000, pinakamababa is 10,000 pesos hanggang umabot sa 500,000 or even 1 million pesos. Depende doon sa system or yung kayang gawin ng software na gagawin ngayon ng programmer na dinesign ni system analyst. The third one is the benefits derived from the system once it is in place. Ano nga yung kayang gawin ng system na yon? Okay? These three are the contents of the feasibility report of our system analyst. The second one is system analysis and design, or the review of programming specifications. The system analyst will carry out a requirement analysis to determine the necessities to meet the needs of the users based on the system analysis report. He or she will use different techniques to identify what has been done with the old system and what should be carried out by the new system. while working closely with the user to ensure the accuracy. So basically, the system analyst will talk to the user na nagpapagawa ng system. And then tatanungin ngayon ng system analyst kung anong gustong mabago ngayon ni user para yun yung gagawin ngayon ni programmer para ma-improve ngayon yung service na ginagawa ng software na pinapagawa ngayon ng user. Okay? The system analyst now will build a system that meets the user's set of requirements once the findings have been validated. Okay, so gagawa na ngayon si system analyst ng parang proposal or system or procedure or yung mga specifications na kailangan natin. The first one is the information flow. Okay? Yung flow ngayon ng information. Paano yung magiging setup ngayon ng system? Kailangan bang mag-login yung estudyante? Kailangan bang mag-login yung user? Or ano yung pinakaunang makikita? Ayun, okay? So that is the information flow. The second one is the program requirements. Ano yung mga requirements ng program na ito? Kailangan ba niyang, kaya niya bang mag-run sa Android applications? Kailangan ba niya or kaya ba niyang mag-run sa iOS, sa Windows, mga ganyan. So yung mga requirements ngayon ng program, nakalagay doon or naka-indicate doon sa system specifications na ginawa ng system analyst. The third one, the file storage organizations. Okay, this is very important, no? If the user has a large company or a large storage device, well, wala tayong magiging problema doon. Pero kapag yung user natin nag-i-start pa lang, let us say, nag-i-start pa lang yung business niya and he or she only has a laptop or a computer, medyo magkakaroon tayo ng problema doon kasi very limited lang yung file storage na pwedeng mangyari doon. So ngayon, mag-a-adjust ngayon yung programmer or yung system analyst kung ano lang yung pinaka-applicable doon sa available na resources ngayon ng ating user na nagpapagawa ng system. And then, of course, the fourth one is important as well. The outline of the user's operations manual. Okay, sabihin natin okay na ngayon yung system. It is not hindi naman porke tinuro na natin kung paano gamitin yung software na ginawa ngayon ng programmer doon sa user, dapat pa rin magbigay pa rin tayo ng manual. Yung kapag, for example, bumili tayo ng television, di ba? Kahit alam natin na kung paano i-operate yung television, we are also given a printed copy on how to, let's say, turn on the television, turn off the television, increase the volume, decrease the volume. Okay, so these four specifications are the content of what the system analysis will do. Okay? The third one is program design. Ito na yung planning a solution for the problem. So the computer programmer must know design a program before writing the actual instruction that the computer will perform. So dapat ngayon, tinanong na ngayon or binigay na dapat ng system analyst natin yung design, kung ano yung magiging itsura ng system para yun yung magiging basis ngayon ni programmer para gawin ngayon itong system. As you can see here in the picture, that is called instruction programming. Ibig sabihin, nagko-code na ngayon si programmer. Okay? So, ang gagawin ni programmer, i-examine niya muna yung buong problem to identify yung task na kailangang i-accomplish to finally solve the problem. Okay? Once these tasks are noted, yung programmer natin will begin to create the precise sequence of operation that will be performed by the computer. So, eto na. Gagawin na ngayon ni programmer ngayon yung flow or yung coding niya. Okay? So, i-code na niya ngayon. Kapag clinic ng user ito, ayan, i-code na ngayon ni programmer natin. So, yun yung ginagawa ng ating programmer. At yung sinusulat or yung kinocode ni programmer is called algorithm or algorithm. Okay? An algorithm is a precise set of instructions for solving a problem. The logical plan may include flowcharts, pseudocode, and top-down charts that I will be presenting to you later. Okay, let's move forward. Typically, a programmer undergoes three general steps. So, ito yung tatlong main na steps na ginagawa ng isang programmer. The first one, of course, i-obtain niya ngayon or kukunin niya ngayon yung kailangang i-input na data. Okay? Kailangan ba ng mga listahan ng mga pangalan ng mga employees? For example, sa business yan. Kailangan ba ng listahan ng mga tao? Kailangan ba ng mga data dito? Okay, so dapat kukunin ngayon ng programmer yon kasi ilalagay niya ngayon yon sa database ng ginagawa niyang program or ng ginagawa niyang software. Number two, processing or performing calculations or comparing operations. So, when we say programming kasi, hindi lang siya nagko-code kasi may mga ginagawa ding calculations and comparing operations doon sa programming natin. Okay, so gumagamit din tayo ng plus dyan, minus, division, subtraction, mga ganyan. Okay? And even conditional statements. Ayan, mga logical calculations na tinatawag natin. The third one is producing the required output. Ayan, yun yung magiging outcome na ngayon ng ginagawa ng programmer natin. Okay? Yung steps nito ay number one, program or yung module description and objectives. Okay? So based on the system specifications gathered, the programmer creates the specification for each of the programs to meet the user's needs. Okay, the following steps are undertaken. Ito nga, number one, yung program or yung module description at saka yung objectives. Ano ba yung gagawin ng system na yon? Ano nga ba yung pinaka-aim ng system na yon? Okay? Number two, input files or specification. Ano yung mga i-input natin mga information or data or mga files doon sa system na gagawin ng programmer? Okay, number three, output files naman or ng specification natin. Ano yung kalalabasan kapag ginamit itong system na ito? Okay, for example, sa supermarket, yung sa barcode reader, yung once na tinapat na ngayon ni cashier yung item doon sa barcode reader, automatic na magpapakita ngayon yung price at saka yung description ng item. And then automatic na din siyang magko-compute kung ilan or magkano yung babayaran ngayon ni customer. So yun yung magiging output niya. Example lang yon. And number four is the processing requirement. Ano yung process na gagawin ng program na yon? Okay? Yung process ba na kailangan ba niyang ma-solve ito? Okay? Kailangan ba niyang magkaroon ng ganitong outcome? Dapat ganon. So, nakalagay doon lahat sa plan na gagawin ngayon ng programmer natin. Okay? We have here an example of a flowchart. Okay? A flowchart is used to illustrate the individual steps in the designing of program logic. Okay? Sa mga non-programmers, sa mga hindi nakakaalam or hindi nakakaintindi or hindi pa nakakaintindi ng programming language, flowchart is for us or for you guys. Why? Because flowchart will tell us on what will happen in the program na ginagawa ng programmer. Okay? And of course, it consists of a series of symbols that graphically represents the solution to the problem. Okay? So may mga symbols dyan na kailangan gamitin natin. So later on, I'm going to teach you on how to properly make a flowchart. Okay? The fourth one is development. Ito na. Once the program design is complete, okay na yung design, na-design na ni system analyst, na-check na ni user, na-check na din ni programmer, the creation of workable programs on the computer will begin. Ito na, magko-code na ngayon si programmer. Okay? It includes the following. Ayun, yung file creation, gagawin niya na yung file. And number 4 is yung application program creation at ito yung tinatawag nating program coding. Ito na yung nagko-code siya. Okay? Ito na yung parang nakikita natin sa mga movies na parang nang-hack, parang ganun yung magiging itsura ngayon ng program coding ng ating programmer. Okay? It is critical to perform comprehensive documentation on the files and programs in the system. So basically, the documentation must include the following. Number one, yung input and output specification. That is very important. Ano yung i-input, ano dapat yung magiging output ng system na gagawin ni programmer. Number two, data dictionary. Well, some terms might be unfamiliar with other people when they are using the system. That is why it is very important to have a dictionary. Kasi may mga terms sa ICT na hindi alam ng mga nasa medical field, kumbaga. Or may mga terms tayo sa ICT na hindi siya common na ginagamit or iba yung pamamaraan ng paggamit sa ibang field. Okay? And number three, operating instruction. How to operate the system. How to manipulate the program. Okay? Testing and debugging. Okay, anong pagkakaiba ng testing and debugging? Actually, the same naman siya. When we test, we debug. We look for the errors. Okay, syempre hindi naman yung instant na nag-code agad-agad si programmer, wala na agad-agad error. Syempre, magkakaroon pa rin yan ng error kahit na gaano kagaling yung programmer natin. Kasi sabi nga nila, nobody is perfect. Okay? So, basically, testing and debugging is done to guarantee that the specifications are followed and implemented throughout the software development process. Okay? So, itetest ngayon ni user or ni system analyst kung tama nga ba yung ginagawa ng programmer, nafa-follow pa rin ba ni programmer yung gustong mangyari ng user. Okay? The following will be generated as a result of the testing or debugging procedure. Number one is yung test log natin. Okay? Then, test plan. Yung ano yung test log na tinatawag natin. Ito yung system. I-test mo ngayon or i-debug mo yung codes. Okay? Ayan. Titignan natin yung mga errors sa codes. Kasi kahit isang character lang kasi ang mali ni programmer, automatic hindi mag-run yung system. That is why, very careful. Kailangang i-test yung buong code ng programmer natin. Number two, test plan. Okay? Ite-test ngayon yung plan kung tama ba or nafa-follow ba ni programmer ngayon yung gustong mangyari ni user. And then, test data. Tama ba yung mga information or yung mga data na ini-input ngayon ni programmer? Or baka iba naman na? Okay? So that is very important. And of course, last but not the least, test results. Yung expected and actual results na ginagawa ngayon ng programmer. Okay. Number 5 is the implementation. Okay? Implementation of the system will commence after a series of adequately testing to find and solve the errors that may occur in the program. Okay? So, bago natin i-implement ngayon yung system natin, it will undergo series of adequately test in order to find and solve the errors before implementing it to the, let's say, to your business. Okay? So, napaka-importante yon kasi baka hindi magiging effective yung system mo if you're just going to implement that without even testing your system if your system is working or not, diba? So this stage involves the actual acquisition of the hardware that is necessary to fully implement the program. Okay? So dapat ngayon, yung lahat ng computer or mga devices na kailangan ng program na ginagawa mo will be dapat available na to test whether gagana yung system na yon doon or not. Okay, number 1, yung user training. Alam ba ng user na yon yung ginagawa niya on how to manipulate the system or how to manipulate that software? Okay? And then number 2, data conversion. Tama ba yung nilalabas niyang data ngayon? Tama ba yung nagiging output ngayon ng system natin? Okay? So, number 6 is the documentation. Okay? Many of us do not read the end user agreement, diba? So, those are part of documentation. And it is really important for us to read sometimes those end user agreements or yung mga kasamang papel ng cellphone ninyo na kapag binili nyo siya, kasamang papel ng laptop ninyo nung binili nyo, di ba? So, dapat binabasa din natin yon kahit papaano. Okay, we have two types of documentation. We have the internal and external. Ano yung pagkakaiba nito? When we say internal, it is a vital component of a quality program. Pag sinabi nating vital, very important siya. Okay? Most programming languages allow for the inclusion of comments within the program. Okay? Ano yung mga programming languages na sinasabi dyan? We have Java, we have Visual Basic, we have PHP, we have Python that we will be discussing later on. Okay? And most daw doon sa mga programming languages na yon na pwede natin gamitin in making systems, pwede kang maglagay ng comments doon. Okay, that is an example of internal documentation. Anong kagandahan ng internal documentation? Once kasi na pwede naglagay tayo ng comment doon, alam natin na yung code na yon is for this one. 'Di ba? So mas ma-organize siya, mas makita na natin agad-agad at mas mabilis nating mahanap ngayon yung error ng system natin by simply looking at the comments that you inserted when you coded that codes, 'di ba? These comments describe the data being utilized. So ito na, the processing that takes place and any additional information that clarifies what the program is doing and how it is doing it. Ayun, yung sinabi ko kanina. And for external documentation naman, users can utilize external documentation to help them execute the program. Ito na ngayon yung mga papel na hinahawakan, ng mga printed copies na hinahawakan natin or mga e-copies or PDF copies na pwede nating tignan kung paano gawin or paano i-manipulate ngayon yung system or yung software. Okay? So this is generally the program's user handbook. Okay? It generally contains operation instructions, data formats, software error messages. Ayan, kapag magpakita itong error na ito, ano yung gagawin mo or anong ibig sabihin nito. Okay? And other related information. So external documentation can be created at varying degrees of complexity depending on the demand of its user. So nakadepende lahat yan sa ating user na nagpapagawa. Diba? Sabi nga nila, the customer is always right. Kung ano yung gusto ng customer natin, kung ano yung gusto ng user natin, syempre, yun yung gagawin natin, yun yung ipa-follow natin. Okay? So, to guarantee that no stages are repeatedly unnecessary, documentation is carried out as a part of the program. Nagiging part na siya ng program development process natin. So, wag nating ini-skip ang documentation kasi ang documentation is very important when time comes, kumbaga. Okay? Especially sa internal kasi ay merong error sa part na ito. Instead of trying to look from start until the end, meron kang nilagay na internal documentation, o hanapin mo na lang yung comment na yon. Ay, ito pala yung error ko. Ganyan. Okay? So in the case that difficulties develop within the program, documentation can give the means to check and remedy the error. Okay? So, may mga instances kasi na nagkaroon ng problema. For example, sa computer, merong nag-pop up na error. Hindi alam gagawin ng hindi alam ng user na yon kung ano yung gagawin niya in order for him to fix the computer. So thanks to the documentation or thanks to the handbook, you can easily identify the problem by just reading those documentations na binigay sa atin ng programmer and ng system analyst. Okay? Number 7 is review. Okay, sinong mahilig maglasada at kada Shopee dita. Okay, so di ba kapag na-receive na natin yung product, mag-a-ask ngayon yung seller sa atin ng review kung 5 star ba, kung 4 star, 3, 2, 1 star. Okay, so An evaluation review takes place after the previous stages have been completed and the system has been utilized for a reason or reasonable period and any errors have been resolved. Okay, so ang mangyayari, magkakaroon lang ng review kapag fully implemented na yung system natin or ginagamit na ngayon ng mga users yung system na ginawa natin. Okay? So, to guarantee the objectivity, the evaluation should be conducted by someone who was not involved in the design or development process. Siyempre, di ba? Kukuha tayo ng review or evaluation sa mga taong hindi part ng team nating gumawa doon sa system na yon. Kasi magiging unfair yon, magiging bias yon. That is why it is very important to ask for other people or to ask for our customers reviews or evaluation from the system that we are making. Okay? So that concludes our first lesson, our first topic in the first quarter in ICT Grade 9 STE. Okay, so I hope you learned something today. And if you are now ready, take a deep breath, okay? And then try to internalize whatever or all the words all or the information that I provided you. Anyway, you can still go back, 'di ba? Pwede niyong backward yung video na ito para mas maintindihan ninyo. Alright? So if you have any question, any query, or any recommendation, you can just PM it to me or you can send it to our group chat. Okay? So once again, thank you very much. And if you are ready to take the quiz, here is the link. Ayan, you are only given 20 minutes to answer. So you're just going to type in this link in your Google Chrome, yung mga web browsers natin, i-open lang natin siya. And make sure that you are logged in with your personal Gmail account. Or else, baka hindi pangalan nyo yung mag-register doon. Alright? Okay. So here are the references of this lesson. So once again, this is teacher Nico Neil Farinas, your ICT teacher. Thank you.